AI this and AI that. It's everywhere you turn these days. Feels like we woke up one morning and bam, the whole world is talking about AI.
Right. It's like it came out of nowhere.
Well, not exactly nowhere, but there's definitely a reason it feels so sudden, and thankfully, we've got Richard Brooks's AI for You presentation to help us break it all down.
He actually created this for a key account management dinner. So we know it's going to be insightful, but not overly technical.
Which is great because I think a lot of us feel like we need a PhD just to understand what AI even is.
Absolutely. And Brooks dives right in with a story so far section, kind of a whistle-stop tour of AI history, which I have to say is a pretty fascinating journey. It all starts back in the 90s with those early statistical language models, which, to be honest, weren't exactly setting the world on fire.
Statistical language models. Sounds thrilling.
Yeah, not exactly the most captivating topic, but they're important to understand because they were the foundation for everything that came after. Imagine trying to teach a computer about language using only statistics. You could feed it thousands of texts, point out patterns, but it wouldn't truly understand the nuances, the intent behind the words.
Kind of like trying to teach someone to paint by just showing them a color wheel without any instruction on how to actually blend or create.
Exactly. And that's where those early AI models struggled.
Right.
They could mimic certain patterns, but they couldn't really comprehend or generate truly human quality language.
So then what changed? When did things start to get really interesting?
Well, that brings us to the early 2010s, when neural networks entered the scene. And that's where AI started to get really exciting.
Because suddenly we're talking about AI that's actually mimicking the way our brains work.
Precisely. Neural networks are designed to process information in a way that's inspired by the human brain, with interconnected nodes that learn and adapt based on the data they're fed.
And this led to some major breakthroughs, right? Like, wasn't this around the time Google Translate suddenly became shockingly good?
Exactly. That leap in accuracy that was neural networks at work, AI was no longer just crunching numbers, it was starting to learn and adapt in a more sophisticated way.
Okay, so neural networks were a big deal. But there's another term Brooks uses that I've always found a bit perplexing: word embeddings. Sounds a bit like a medical procedure, honestly.
It does sound a bit intimidating, doesn't it? But it's actually a pretty simple concept, and it was crucial for helping AI make sense of language in a whole new way.
Okay, I'm all ears. Explain it like I'm 5.
So imagine you're trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle. Before word embeddings, AI could only see the individual pieces, the words themselves, but not necessarily how they fit together to create the bigger picture.
Got it. So it's like having all the words but not understanding the grammar or the context.
Exactly. Word embeddings changed all that. They allowed AI to understand relationships between words, to see how those pieces of the puzzle fit together to create meaning.
So instead of just recognizing individual words, AI could start to understand the nuances of language, synonyms, analogies, even sarcasm.
You got it. It was a huge step forward, like giving AI a crash course in linguistics.
And this all paved the way for what Brooks calls a pivotal moment in AI history: the arrival of the Attention is All You Need paper in 2017. Even the title sounds kind of cryptic, like something out of a Dan Brown novel.
It definitely has a certain ring to it, right? But trust me, this paper was a game changer. It introduced the concept of transformers, which completely revolutionized the way AI processes language.
Transformers.Optimus Prime. I'm trying to connect the dots here.
Not quite the same thing, but I appreciate the enthusiasm. In essence, transformers enabled AI to understand not just the presence of words in a sentence, but also their relationships to each other, their importance, their order, all the subtle cues that we as humans use to understand language.
So it's like teaching a computer to not just read, but to actually comprehend, analyze, and even interpret text in a much more nuanced way.
Precisely. It was a monumental shift, like giving AI a crash course in advanced linguistics and critical thinking. And that brings us to the era of LLMs, or large language models, which is where things start to get really interesting. But I think we'll say that for after a quick break.
LLMs, large language models, just the name sounds intimidating, like something out of a science fiction movie.
It's understandable why people might feel a bit overwhelmed. But Brooks actually breaks it down quite simply. He just describes them as AI systems designed to understand and generate human-quality text.
Okay, but we've had things like autocorrect for ages. What makes these LLMs so different, so much more advanced?
It's the large part of LLM that really makes all the difference. These models are trained on absolutely massive data sets. They take a significant chunk of the entire internet, and that's where things get really fascinating.
So they've basically read every blog post, every online forum, every digital encyclopedia out there.
You're getting the idea. It's through absorbing all of that information that LLMs develop their remarkable abilities. They're not just learning vocabulary and grammar, but also the subtle nuances of language, humor, tone, style, even the ability to write different kinds of creative content.
So it's like the difference between memorizing a dictionary and actually understanding how to use language to tell a story, express an idea, even crack a joke.
Exactly. And we're not just talking about theoretical possibilities here. LLMs are rapidly being integrated into all sorts of applications that we use every day.
Uh,
Think about those AI-powered writing assistants that help you craft emails, or the chatbots that answer your questions online.
it's funny, you're right. It's easy to forget that those are powered by LLMs, not magic. But Brooks also spends some time talking about the broader AI landscape, and there are so many buzzwords flying around. Ecosystem integration, open source models, multimodal capabilities. It's a lot to digest.
It's true. The tech world definitely has a way with buzzwords.
Yeah.
Some of it is just hype, like remember when everyone was talking about NFTs? But there's some really significant developments happening that are worth paying attention to.
Okay, so help us cut through the noise. What's actually important for people to understand amidst all these buzzwords?
One of the most exciting trends is the rise of open source models. Remember how we talked about AI being accessible to everyone? That's what open source enables. It means that the power of AI isn't solely in the hands of big tech companies anymore.
So smaller companies, researchers, even independent developers can access these incredibly powerful AI models and build their own innovative things with them.
Exactly. This is huge for innovation and accessibility. And then there's the whole world of multimodal AI, which honestly sounds like something straight out of a science fiction movie.
Yeah, that one definitely sparks the imagination. Break it down for us. What does multimodal even mean in the context of AI?
Multimodal AI is all about moving beyond just text. Imagine AI that can understand and interact with images, audio, even video.
So instead of me trying to describe in painstaking detail what I want, I could just show an AI a picture and say, make it like this, but better.
You're getting the idea.
Yeah.
And it's already happening. We're seeing it with tools like Adobe Firefly and Canva, which let you use AI to generate and manipulate images. And this is just the beginning. As this technology keeps evolving, who knows what incredible creative possibilities will emerge.
It's all incredibly exciting, but also a bit overwhelming. Things seem to be moving at warp speed. How do we even keep up?
Brooks makes a really crucial point that I think gets lost in all the hype. The best LLM isn't a one-size-fits-all answer. It really depends on what you're trying to achieve, what you want to use it for. It's about finding the right tool for the right job. And sometimes that involves a bit of experimentation.
So many options. Where do we even start? Brooks mentions Claude, Gemini, Perplexity. It's like walking into an AI toy store.
It can definitely feel that way.
Yeah.
A lot to take in, but the good news is many of these tools have free versions.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, you can just dip your toes in, try things out without a huge commitment.
Like browsing. Right. You don't have to buy every book to find one you love.
Exactly. And Brooks seems particularly enthusiastic about Claude.
Claude, what's special about that one?
It can handle huge amounts of text, like really huge.
Okay. So what, like if I have a ton of industry reports to get through?
Exactly. Instead of spending hours, days even, Claude can summarize the key points.
No more all-nighters trying to decipher dense documents. Sign me up.
Right. Huge time saver. And if you're more visual, we mentioned Adobe Firefly and Canva before.
Oh yeah, those were fun to play around with.
They make AI image generation super accessible.
I was surprised how easy they were to use, even for someone like me who's not exactly a design whiz.
That's the beauty of these tools, right? They're becoming so user-friendly. But Brooks takes it a step further.
Oh, how so?
He talks about customizing these tools, like using something called prompt frameworks.
Prompt frameworks. That's where it starts to sound a bit intimidating. Like I need coding skills.
No coding required.
Yeah.
It's more about learning how to talk to AI effectively.
Talk to it. You make it sound like a person.
In a way, it kind of is, right? We're interacting with these systems that can understand and respond to our language.
True, true. So how do we get better at talking to AI? What are these prompt frameworks all about?
It's about being specific, giving the AI clear instructions so it knows exactly what you want it to do.
So instead of saying, write me a poem, I should be saying, write me a sonnet in the style of Shakespeare about the existential dread of a goldfish.
Exactly. The more context and detail you provide, the better the results will be.
Fascinating. So it's not just about using these tools, but learning how to fine-tune them, make them work for us.
Precisely. And it gets even more interesting when you start talking about custom instructions. Imagine you could train an AI to write in your unique voice, your tone, even reflect your values.
Whoa, it's like having a digital clone of your brain.
In a way. But Brooks gives some really cool examples of how this can be used practically.
Like what?
He talks about using AI for pre-mortems.
Dreamortems. Okay, now you're just using fancy words to make me feel dumb.
Laughing.
Yes.
It's just a technique where you basically imagine a project has failed and then try to figure out all the reasons why.
Okay, so like a postmortem, but before the project even happens.
Exactly. And AI can be really helpful for this because you can feed it all the information about the project and the people involved, and it can simulate different scenarios.
You can spot potential problems before they even arise.
Precisely. And he also talks about using AI for negotiation training.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Imagine practicing your negotiation skills with an AI that's been trained on thousands of real-world examples.
So you can try out different approaches, see what works best, without any real-world consequences if you mess up.
Exactly. It's like having a personal negotiation coach in your pocket.
This is really incredible stuff. But with all this talk about AI's potential, it's easy to get caught up in the hype.
You're absolutely right. It's a tool, a powerful one, but still just a tool. It's not going to magically solve all our problems.
So it's about learning how to use it effectively, ethically, and responsibly.
Exactly. And Brooks emphasizes the importance of adapting to change, of constantly learning and evolving alongside these technologies, because things are changing fast.
And that brings us back to something you said earlier about the importance of data in all of this.
Absolutely. Understanding data, how to use it, how to protect it, that's crucial in the age of AI. It's not just about being tech savvy anymore, it's about being data literate.
It's like Brooks says at the end of his presentation, knowledge is knowing a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad.
Such a great quote. It's about knowing when and how to use the tools at our disposal. AI has incredible potential, but it's up to us to use it wisely.
Well said. And on that note, a huge thank you to Richard Brooks for giving us so much to think about.
Absolutely. This was a fascinating deep dive.
To our listeners, as always, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and most importantly, never stop learning.